Belgium's parliament voted today for a blanket tobacco advertising ban on all sports.
It's Parliament voting for a complete ban on all tobacco advertising and sponsorship.
Formula One is the epitome of thrill rides, a showpiece of speed and thrill, a playground for the wealthy. Formula One motorsport, F1, has been associated with the wealthiest 1% of the population since its inception in 1950. It costs a lot to operate an F1 squad. Teams often spend over $140 million a year, only to go to the most lavish racetracks in the world. A single car might cost over $12 million. This implies that funding, frequently from shady sources, is essential to a team's success. Let's first take a look at how this whole fiasco of sponsorship started. Not all F1 vehicles had flashy branding plastered all over them. They used to wear their national colours till the 1960s. However, in 1968, the FIA was compelled to permit commercial sponsorships due to financial difficulties when major sponsors like Shell and BP withdrew. At the 1968 Monaco Grand Prix, Team Lotus made history by being the first to use a sponsor-driven livery that featured the gold leaf tobacco brand. Tobacco corporations dominated F1 sponsorships for decades, after other teams quickly followed. The FIA's 2003 prohibition on tobacco advertisements brought an end to their glory. However, it was short-lived. In 2006, instead of imposing a ban, the FIA declared that it would substitute a recommendation that such sponsorship should discontinue in accordance with legal counsel. The European Union, which was scheduled to enact its own ban on tobacco advertising in 2005, became more tense as a result of this decision. The FIA initially chose to implement this restriction because of the EU. Tobacco sponsorship is a major source of funding for many top Formula One teams. Plans to ban tobacco advertising have been the subject of FIA EU negotiations over the past 10 years. The topic has been very contentious and has included significant lobbying and legal dispute. As Formula One is becoming more global, the tobacco industry's constant argument against an EU ban is that viewers in Europe would still be exposed to tobacco advertising through television broadcasts from nations where it is legal. Public health concerns are the driving force behind the movement to ban tobacco advertising, since countless studies have demonstrated the negative effects of tobacco usage and the impact of advertising on smoking behaviour. The European Union, EU, wants to lower smoking rates and improve health outcomes throughout Europe by limiting tobacco advertising. Despite the prohibition, such sponsors still exist, ranging from pornographic magazines to phony energy drinks and Ponzi scams, which become a hot and trending topic of discussion for the tabloids. Well, let's now jump into our list of shady sponsors throughout the years. Bin Laden. Yeah, you heard that right. The little stickers with the words Bin Laden on the Williams FW07. Before 9/11, nobody gave a damn. After that, the internet went crazy. They did it, it turns out, to promote the Saudi Bin Laden Group, which is headed by Osama's family and not Osama personally. A major participant in international building projects, the Saudi Bin Laden Group has built notable structures both inside and outside of Saudi Arabia. Their sponsorship was strictly a commercial deal, as is customary in the F1 world, where team operations depend heavily on financial support. But after 9/11, it became quite controversial to even have the name Bin Laden on an F1 car. Even though there was no direct connection between the team and Osama bin Laden, the internet was ablaze with conspiracy theories and wild speculations. The scandal highlighted Formula One's frequently difficult and complicated relationships with sponsors, and it had a long-lasting effect on the sport. It turned into a case study on how outside circumstances and world politics may affect public opinion and sports sponsorship. The scrutiny that the sponsors of Williams FW07 had to endure highlighted the careful balancing that teams need to do in their business relationships, particularly when such relationships involve names or companies that may trigger such public reactions. Bin Laden on an F1 vehicle? Still not appealing. Moneytron. Renowned Belgian conman and heroin addict Jean-Pierre Van Rossum masterminded a complex Ponzi scheme dubbed Moneytron, which was a sophisticated stock market model. Van Rossum was able to con a lot of people and organizations, including the Belgian royals, with his claims of having created a new algorithm that ensured large returns on investments. His flashy lifestyle, which included owning 108 Ferraris and a private jet, gave his fraudulent activities a sense of legitimacy and attraction. Van Rossum was able to immerse himself in the Formula One scene due to Moneytron's facade of success, and he rose to prominence there. He looked confident and wealthy, often holding a can of Fanta and a cigarette when he was making agreements in the paddock. Van Rossum's fraud depended on drawing in new investors whose money was then utilized to pay returns to previous investors. Moneytron advertised immense profits. Many were convinced of the scheme's credibility by the excessive spending and well-known endorsements that were used to systematically preserve the image of success. The truth about Moneytron surfaced when Van Rossum's personal and professional life started to fall apart. Investigations revealed that the claimed algorithm was a total fabrication and that the huge profits that were promised were not realistic. Inevitably, the scam crashed and burned, bankrupting numerous investors in the process. The hoax had a huge impact, and many people lost all of their life savings. T-. The T- countdown campaign was brought to the Arrows Formula One team in 1999 by Prince Malik Ado Ibrahim, a Nigerian royal. With the promise of a substantial cash increase and game-changing adjustments for the team once the clock hit zero, the campaign created a lot of interest. Raising hopes, Malik presented the team with the idea of T- branded energy drinks and high-end products, and guaranteed them significant financial support from an unidentified group. But once the countdown was over, nothing happened. Grand promises made were left unfulfilled, and the expected goods and finances failed to arrive. When it became apparent in September that there would be no financial assistance, Malik and the T- brand vanished from the public eye. The team had been depending on the anticipated investment to boost its output and ensure its survival in the very competitive Formula One industry. However, they were left with growing debt and no new assets. Durex. A major issue in Formula One history began in 1976, when the BBC opted not to air the race because the condom maker Durex sponsored the Surtees team. This choice emphasized the conservative views of the time on the promotion of particular goods. The BBC found it inappropriate to promote condoms, even if sponsorships related to tobacco products were allowed. The Surtees team received a clear ultimatum from the BBC: get rid of the Durex logo or risk a broadcast blackout. Nevertheless, the Surtees team decided to keep the Durex logos on their vehicles because they understood the financial significance of their sponsor. Due to this rebellion, Formula One was removed from British television, depriving UK fans of live broadcast. F1 wasn't broadcast on the BBC until the thrilling 1976 championship race between James Hunt and Niki Lauda, which captured the attention of people all over the world. The BBC was forced to reconsider its position due to the fierce rivalry and the remarkable story of Lauda's near-fatal accident and miraculous recovery. Acknowledging the tremendous public interest and the sport's increasing popularity, the broadcaster went back to covering Formula One. One of the most talked about stories in Formula One history is still the Durex sponsorship controversy. It brought attention to the unfair marketing strategies of the day, when it was more controversial to promote health-related items like condoms than it was to advertise dangerous tobacco products. Well, that concludes our list of dubious and controversial sponsors. It's evident from the history of Formula One that suspicious sponsors have always been in the sport. Even though it may be ethically unacceptable, a few logos on a race vehicle don't really hurt anything. On the flip side, these sponsorships are now an integral aspect of Formula One's brand. Can you imagine the sport without the legendary sponsors' vibrant colours? They give the races more personality and background. So if a few dubious transactions keep the clubs afloat, are they really all that bad? What do you think about the controversial sponsors? What is the most controversial advertisement you have noticed? Let us know in the comment section below. If you liked this video, hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon so you're notified as soon as we upload our next video. Thanks for watching.